Alright all, and welcome back to the Day 3 preview of Royal Ascot for 2020. We're continuing on our day-by-day previews, and we've just come to the end of Day 2. Similar enough time again, we're around 5:30, 6 o'clock while recording this video. Not an ideal Day 2. I did say it in the video that I thought it was going to be a tricky day. I thought it was a low stakes type of day, and I was pretty glad I kept to low stakes, to be honest. As you guys well know, I've said it plenty of times before, I'm afraid I can't guarantee winners. Yes, today wasn't a brilliant day. We had a few nice each way plays in some of the big handicaps. I thought we were going to win the Royal Hunt Cup on Mahantham, or jeez, I've absolutely butchered that name. Mohatham, is it? The William Haggas horse, and obviously Alternative Fact also placed at 10-1 for us. Japan, a little bit disappointing. As we've discussed, he will be the best horse in that race. I have absolutely no doubt about it. Just wasn't really ready on the day. The 2-year-old race was a bit of a kick in the face for me. I've been humming and hawing whether to put up Tactical. Obviously, if you watch the Racing Central stuff, you'll know Oisin Murphy held this horse in very high regard. And that was obviously a big shame. As I say, it was a bit of a kick in the teeth. But these sort of things happen, and we get up and go again, and hopefully have a bit more luck tomorrow. A few of my cult favourites are running tomorrow, so hopefully one or two of them can win. But sorry again, it wasn't a brilliant day, but I'd be surprised. I say if any of you guys have had a good day today, do let me know, because that is serious punting, because I wouldn't have picked many of the winners, I must confess. Starting off tomorrow, the 1:15, the Golden Gates Handicap over a mile 2, well, it's a mile 1 and kind of 180 yards or something. It's around 20 yards shy of being a mile 2. And one of the horses that I'm going to follow to the day I die, I suspect, is Hypothetical for John Gosden and Frankie De Torre. This Lope de Vega colt won a Chelmsford Maiden back in December time. He beat a Charlie Fellows horse called London Arch that day by 5 lengths. Did it really, really impressively, and then came back out in the Kempton listed trial at Kempton and came 4th. Now, he's well backed that day. It wasn't all my money. A fair bit of it was, to be fair, but not all my money. But it seems to have been a decent race. Berlin Tango won it. He came out and finished 3rd today, and obviously Pile Driver came 2nd, and he won on day 1 of the Royal Ascot meet. Hypothetical, on the other hand, finished 4th, wasn't given a hard time when beaten, and runs here in a handicap of 97. I think he's leniently treated. I'm hoping that is the case. I think the main danger, as the market would suggest, is acquitted, because I'm a massive fan of Palace Pier for Saturday. Just a little spoiler for you guys. And he obviously has good form with him. I wouldn't put anyone off backing acquitted. But Hypothetical will be the selection at 11-2. The 150 is the Wolverton Stakes, a listed race over a mile 2, and I'm going to go back for one-time Derby favourite Sir Dragonet here. 4-1 still with Ladbrokes, but mostly 7-2 across the board. The Son of Camelot really has failed to quite capture the imagination, unfortunately, after winning the Chester Vase by 8 lengths in May last year. He came 5th in the Derby, only beaten a couple of lengths, and was obviously 4th in the St. Leger behind Logician and Sir Ron Priestley, Nayef Road. But didn't seem to stay that day. I'd put a line through that. I wouldn't put a line through it. I think he ran very well, but just clearly didn't stay. And on reappearance in the Devoy, I think it was, at Nath, he was beaten by Numerian. Now, Numerian came out and finished 3rd in the Moors Bridge. He's not a bad horse, he's not a brilliant horse, but he clearly needed the run that day, and I'm really hoping Sir Dragonet takes a massive, massive step forward for that run. He should be the winner of this race. I'm not sure how good he is anymore, to be honest. It is a bit of a punt, but I'm taking that punt. There is still a bit of life in the dog yet. The 225 is the 7 Furlong Jersey Stakes, and a lot has been talked about this King Leonidas for John Gosden and Frankie De Torre. And it's a bit like Frankly Darling on the first day. If you fancy it, I'd back it. Because if you fancy it, if you think he's a really good horse, I would go ahead. I would trust your gut. I wouldn't put anyone off backing King Leonidas, to be honest. Personally, though, I'll be putting up Monarch of Egypt for this race. He's 5-1. He's been a bit of a cliff horse, to be honest. I don't think he's quite been as good as they'd hoped he'd be after he won a 5-furlong maiden at the start of last year. He was the first Irish winner sired by American Pharaoh, and there was a lot of hype about him at the time. Now, he bumped into Siskin a few times last year, which obviously is a hard feat, as we've now begun to see, and reappeared in the Irish 2,000 guineas, again behind Siskin, where he came 7th. Now, he got absolutely no run that day, and I'd heard rumours that the Jersey Stakes was the big plan for this horse, so it kind of surprised me that he ran in the Irish 2,000 guineas, but perhaps that was just a pipe opener. I think 7 furlongs is this horse's ideal trip. I think it's quite similar to Lope Fernandez, actually. I think 7 furlongs is the trip. I just think he could run a big race here, Monarch of Egypt. He's obviously 5-1, second fav. To be honest, I can't see the winner coming out of anywhere other than Monarch of Egypt or King Leonidas. So it's, toss of the coin stuff between those two for me. I've landed on Monarch of Egypt at a slightly bigger price. The 3 o'clock is the 7 furlong Chesham Stakes. Now, as I found out today, with the Windsor Castle, these 2-year-old races I think are going to be a bit tricky. As we know, we haven't got massive runs into a lot of these horses. It's very difficult to quantify form. And this is another race, Battleground is the favourite, even though he only came 5th on debut. So it's very hard to know. I've taken an each-way stab here on First Profit for Charlie Fellows and James Doyle. James Doyle rode a double today. He's 8-1, this son of New Day out of a poor Mois mare. Beat Al Watan, who was quite a well-fancied side Bin Saror horse on debut at Newbury only last week, where he ran green. Now, he was backed off the boards that day. He was thought of that he was going to win, and he did go and do it. 8-1's not a bad each way price if you want to get involved. In the 3:35, the Ascot Gold Cup. Let's not beat around the bush here. Stradivarius is going to win this race. If you got 4-7 or 8-13 perhaps, I wouldn't say it's actually the worst bet, but my pockets unfortunately aren't big enough to be really lobbing in on that. He'd be the main selection, as he will, I would assume, win this race. One I wouldn't put anyone off each way is Nayef rode at 16-1. Third in the Queen's Vase last year over a mile 6. He won the Gordon Stakes, beating another favourite of mine, Constantinople, and he was third in the St. Leger. He won on reappearance at Newcastle over 2 miles. He's a resolute horse. The step up to 2 mile 4 is a bit of an unknown, but it is for a lot of these horses, because 2 mile 4 races don't really exist throughout the calendar, apart from the Ascot Gold Cup and the Prix de Cadran. So I think it's worth a stab. 16-1's not a bad each way price, but Stradivarius is obviously the one to beat. The 4:10, the mile Britannia Stakes. These last 2 races, the Britannia and the Sandringham, are 2 of the toughest handicaps of the week. But I quite like one here in the Britannia, and it's a horse called Verboten, who's 8-1, this son of No Name Never. Won a Yarmouth maiden, beating a horse called Spreadsheet, who hasn't ended up being the greatest horse on earth. He was trained by Roger Varian. But then went and finished 7th, mid-div in the Verboten Futurity, which looks a very good race, obviously with Kamiko, Kinross, Mogul, Inish Free and the likes. He finished 7th that day. He was beaten 10 lengths. He was well beaten at that level, but reappeared at Lingfield 2 weeks ago in a 7 furlong handicap and finished 4th. He absolutely flew home for Rab Havlin that day. He's only been raised £1 for that effort. He's off a mark of 95 here, with Frankie De Torre taking the ride. He obviously faces competition from stablemate Enemy, who's also equally unexposed, and Finest Sound, who won a Haydock maiden very well. But I think 8-1's not a bad play each way on Verboten. And the 4:40, the Sandringham, obviously African Dream, the one to beat here, but she is a little bit short. And to be honest, I know she got within ahead of Stylistique, but Stylistique isn't really a very, how do I put it, tenacious horse in the finish. Let's just put it that way. She struggles to win races, so I think that can be maybe a little bit overbet, to be honest. She's a very short price for a race like this. Yes, is she the most likely winner? Yes. But, taking 2-1, 7-4 about a horse on the Sandringham wouldn't be my bag anyway. And instead, I'd have a little each way play on Declared Interest at 9-1. Harry Bentley for Rafe Beckett. His horse won at Chelmsford on reappearance. That's the third time of asking in a maiden where he won from the front, beating a horse called Rideson, who's been a real, bang the head off the wall horse for Roger Varian. But he's rated 78. This declared interest is now running off a mark at 82 after beating him quite convincingly. So she should be able to make a bit of progress off this mark at 82. And I think there is still progression in the tank. It will only be her fourth start in the Sandringham, so she's a little bit light on experience for a race of this type of nature, but I'm going to take that chance and hopefully she runs well. And a bit like the handicaps today where we managed to find a couple to place, that would be the big aim. And if one sticks, we'll be absolutely laughing. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below. We've had a lot of new subscribers in the last couple of days, so welcome if you are new, and obviously let me know your day 3 thoughts down below. I really want to hear them. How did your day today go punting wise, and who do you think could well make the money for us tomorrow? Do let me know, and until tomorrow night where we'll be back again for day 4, hope you keep well, hope you land a few bets, and I'll see you guys then. Cheers.